The events of that time represent a part of our past that we must never forget, for it reminds us of the challenges we have faced together, of the mistrust, fear, and division that once marked our path. As much as we remember that painful past, we must also recognize the journey this community has made since then. Together we have worked to heal, to grow, and to overcome. The strength of our regional community lies not in the hardships that we have endured, but in the resilience we have shown in moving forward, determined to build a better, more united future. As we look to that future, it's important to recognize that as a city that serves nearly 300,000 people throughout this region, we have all come from many places. We all have diverse stories and histories, but we are all here now, together. We are all members of this greater Four Corners community, and I believe that our focus must be on the part that each of us plays in the creation of the new chapters of history that are being written today, tomorrow, and the years ahead. We have many challenges that face our community, but I know that working together, we can tackle the issues that are holding our families and our people back. But first, we must recognize that we are all part of this community, shaped by the same sun and wind of the Four Corners, and bound by a desire to create a better future for all who live here. Let us build upon our commonalities, our shared values of family, hard work, and respect for the land we call home. We all want to see our families thrive and our children prosper, and we all want to ensure that the generations to come will know this place is one of hope, unity, and opportunity. Together, we will continue to build that future, one rooted in our shared history and shaped by the common purpose that brings us here today. God bless you, your families, and the people of the Four Corners, USA. Respectfully, Nate Duckett, Mayor. Whether you are viewing remotely or gathered here in the Total Theater, it is good to gather together to remember. James Baldwin wrote many years ago that we cannot change everything we face, but nothing can be changed until it is faced, until it is named, and until it is spoken out loud. We gathered together to remember 1974 and to name injustice. We gather to remember the long impact of racism on our community and to tell a truthful story of the dignity of all people who live here. We gather from diverse places as family members directly impacted, as longtime residents, and as those just learning these stories to remember together in community. And let us remember and travel together on a path of healing.
Lizo. Growing him, Stella Webster, the Ecuadorian.
Stella Webster and she na kaitnensle ki ane bashichi todichi e dashichi kapani e dashunale leeds the baby nasha 1966 and outbed nahania. My husband came to work for the Bureau of Reclamation in 1966. That's when we moved to this area. In September of 2023, we at the First Presbyterian Church got a new pastor, Reverend James Clout. He's with us today. He had signed up for a program on the doctrine of discovery presented by the Northwest New Mexico chapter of Campaign Against Racism. I met with our new pastor to orient him to this community. Marcia Glass had given him the book, The Broken Circle. He had started reading it, and in January of 2023, 2024, Reverend James said to me, "Do you know it's been 50 years? Wow. Has it already been that long?" That's when our conversation started. We need to do something to commemorate the 50-year commemoration. That's how we started gathering people. Our committee became made up of amazing people, and we also met an amazing lady from the city of Farmington, Shannon Reeves. She's the Farmington Assistant City Manager. So this event would not have happened without those group of people coming together with the committee and the support of the city of Farmington. So when we started meeting, we developed a narrative, and that was our guiding narrative as we planned this event. I will read an excerpt to you from that. We are a group of community members from Farmington and nearby communities seeking to acknowledge the 50th anniversary of the murders of the 3 Diné men in 1974. Ours is a twofold purpose: to affirm the sacredness of every human life, regardless of color, ethnicity, culture, or origin, and to acknowledge the history of racism in the bordertown community that resulted in the torture and killing of these 3 Diné men. The other purpose is we want to see a permanent monument that's established to this event.
Jasma, the question is case on you, it is a been Yahigi, Zoe, Ashka, Ethiopia. So, Henny, Stapinachik, Eti, the wings, the Navy, Eti, the Kagish, at Ahi Benin, to his own Hansak, Kisigi, Ebizito, the 18, don't need that, and later, what other than the 1970 horses, I say, 18, that's I need 2016 and has any 1974 you were hey to a Even in Hansa, she see a hot air to yat it. She did no it down every eats. A hot every eats, a crapination. Other horses. Go, the nannies until the quishy to extend that. out of better house and then happen the house. has anger, it hasn't got David Ignacio cat and then she got what either. Say, well, to see. Papa and I station or that reason. Say that on a short hands and low batch of Pagahanda. Of course, they cut a hot hours and they don't eat the ya. So after the ground was no white privilege. Any acquaintance Very briefly, as an overview, as part of my overview, the reason why we're gathered here is for several reasons. One, obviously, is to commemorate that time in 1974 when a number of our Diné people were brutally murdered. They were tortured. We want to remember them. We want to remember the victims, other victims that saw that same conclusion on their life. Then we also know very well that there are people who have left our homes that have never come back. We want to remember all those at this time. But that's not all. That's not the main reason why we're here. Another big reason is that we know that this scourge of racism is something that remains. We submit that the racism that is perpetrated on people of color is concentrated in the small segment of the community. There are people that are truly hateful of another people because they're different. There is that reality. Then we know that many people here in this community, in this heavy Anglo community, that many people are just indifferent about those issues. At the same time, we also recognize that there are people of good heart, people that understand humanity, understand compassion, and we appreciate those people. We regard them as brothers and sisters. All of us here, brown skin, at a time, yes, we were in good relation with people from different colors. So the bottom line of what we need to do here is to state very clearly that we know that racism is alive and it continues. One of the reasons why one of the reasons why racism is alive is this business about white privilege. We know that white privilege is maybe I'm overstating it a little bit, but I will say that it is prevalent in this community. White folks that have a negative thought about other people of color, they may not understand it, they may not realize that they are that way, but that is a reality. And we want to state that very clearly here. We talk about healing, and when we say that, we're talking about our families, our people. But when the mayor talks about healing, to what extent is he saying it? It's just not, we don't want it to be just words, like it's been just words for so long. We want this to be a serious work to address a tremendously serious condition that this community has. Not only here, but other border towns throughout our land. I want to go ahead and there's a narrative on the back. Can we put the narrative on the screen? The narrative. Let's go on it. Are you finding that narrative? We have to say that the city, the mayor's office, and the police department, the fire department, and other people that are in this community, they did come out to help us. You saw that. You saw that. So we do appreciate that. Are we not able to find that narrative? If not, not, I can proceed. Did the kind of that better the solution you can't just cut on. Oh, need them there. Aro and ne, Nahani Yay. To equate, Yahlet of the either. Oh. Okay. Did the Kagisha Gray, all Sanahani, Yahata, all Sanahani, Spanzeta, did Tao, Tro, Zini, Trotra, she was Yahad and she, as in Nehazna. Okay, all Yahas, Niyado, to Echit, she Keda his dog, neither. To Echit, she Hata Hopata. Oh, Hunek, there, one that's another because I'm there, quite of a rose and such, you see, was not. To had done cat, the scarcity, the sheep, 18 honey yellow. Okay. Next. Okay, the Ghana 80 Kaya. Happens no a contas, Naya. At the Shinigi, to a hataho. Conhahos, that's Guinea, that's a willa. Are they call a Chinigi, that's Tatista. Okay, the Kagish is a concanit in Ita, ya 18 hit their wings, the Nigi. Chinhitel, any 8 or 8 steel, a Bahajoka. A codin, and then I have the house, not a not anything that you can that you state a what they see, though this using that are upon the Lenat Aunt, 8 eyes a Benhanas, a best of the Yaya. A co 18 are the quick 80 1974 on the any deadly hidden net hitters, hitters, it was no. Because I had a skinny 80 copies of a car, Deshna, clutches, chillage. They others in our underestimate. And it's out on the epic was under none of being a yarn done the 8 okay. They would any their wings, Lido Bito, Equa 18, in the 1950s, 1970s, as what they should use. For 1974, you died the crab and the ground and gather Indian rolling. No. So I did that corn hit the neck or the chita and Kahegi, Hatan Kahegi. Echo she had as the cow. Other should be that you need in law or that you other as this needle in the rolling. According to the gun, yes, she would ask yes, Hannah Kagoshi and Loco. According to the name, but other is Kidabatilia. Edis Edi large Sabanese, John Earl Harvey, Herman Dodge Benally, David Ignacio, Echo Channing his Hadodistia. Ado Pisnanigit Ado Ede Yadeya. A David Aitkin, any Edich Andika, but Eda Edi Edit or Edita. Itae nike as yedashti in Hadez. Didn't what are the Nini quer hit any stop of Shiat a put a din. A shadow Lucy kiss with a large you cannot earn it as long as the American in the book, the Narras Alliance, it unkin has twin, and the thought the Kayapik, or a what other hunt. They Peterson, the German Tiger Arden Huts, and a Cuban club, no yet a hot hunt. NAACP, a Disney, a is Yandaz, Lede, could Achashi any quail in haunted of Shiat, he not Shadaya, Lucy Kiswa, a coalition for Navajo Liberation, no, Ashap is it so. Out of the 1974, it put the key, Nate Yapan Secret. Other than that, you have other home, and you get other one that you did know that what is that. But as to quit the more she ate in none, it hit out those Nico ate. And not on the talk, cut ahead as soon as a person attended to none. It died what is here. They kid is a moment of the greatness. Norman Patrick Brown, are you in the house? She kept a year long. What is was just in her heart. The queen of meal she ate, as a year needs this. No, a Norman Patrick Brown is in Nahaya Hearts. Okay. Okay, I now did not so. Didn't hit that wings and any dope and get open in 19 as a Janas India. Then now one day, United States or New Mexico, there are the 80 with the last activity. Any dish kahi, a quen had a house, Naya. Gave a bishop house is not. A co a other big, it was a sitters lord, because people are gone. A co a not a dequare, oh, a adult, not a teenager, and a the nick, oh, yeah. Oh, it is on the Hashin Zacher. A good art, Hashin, so Hansi kiss, she does a with this. Upon the day of Kagish, Chizuni, Kennedy, and the La Washington, that all the guns make the young lick a hot nation, the Cosic is nation. It with our emphasis. Good example. The old cars and they Washington, it's the hot and not Kindle. So that it's never the horse out of there. No, it has no. Even it says, and she the nanny, the lady of Kagish, isn't it? The lady did has an old has army. And Hinkin Echo, Udos, Ashigi, Edoben Cartas Ada, Ewa Ashlea. Out of quiet racism, the Niga 80 at the Snania, even the Ghana Hashin, nah, 80 doya had cheater, to a young sick sister. Dinana shut another, the Kagi, a shahot, a Nanigi, and none, but the evenings the Nigi. A better class of the this kid, Eddie Corney, came with Artida, Yaido, became and then he bought the talk at another cat. He called a Eva Hits and though where a Doshana, a Bini, no echo, a Belgica. Okay, Ado Ella Echo, Eva Eddie, to Ada Yata, the national Anna has Kande, Alien darkness, the murdered, missing Indigenous woman. No a year saw in our national. Aronana murdered, missing the neck relative. Equanimous that year of ski that deep in now, but us, and indeed, a Chinese or a China is about. Okay, they what on it, the acquaintance, and they get a deep gun of art age done there. Is it art a Hasinet, was she in other acquaintance? Art ever gun a benefit, the sea doctor, so in habitat. Although this is not the gun a job. Next. Okay, they other than okay, they keep the gun and the Linia. Eto, and need the die of a hundred leader. And the other Christopher Columbus Grand Hans. Other a business and you what down this is in the game 8 years. The never the last crocodile that the inns and dog where a teeth on equals. And the queen of Mina here dashing out a hundred year. It is street a winnet at the nest. Is not a spread husband, wheat the Hasoya. Go, oh, Johan's is it, Hajopa. So, a nana such a the last line, Jenny has over Tusdo, but Osner. I should Jensen, Hakedian Sen Jensen. This Nick Hagger Yashak. Stolia, Eddie Benin, Shakio, and Shakio, a chisel and a would answer Kissy, Ash, the quiet racism. Okay, okay, that, Nishadi, Kodoe, Nishacho, Pahundo, a egg, then six, and then the tending. And the Johan has on its softened lineage, a heavy done here. Because I want it in so hey, then yet and the event. The harsh shenanigans talking in another cat, ever Hanixon. What are activities either the figure or top. Even in non ever has all ever activities. The harsh shenanigans. I think that's the end of the slides. Today, you have some Esther. Ita, say, in the house, tell what this is. But here, Kitahadi, Kinek, Ita Yegonam, Sudat Zai, it as a Tanam Tasha. As you call it, so the air is discussion.
As Chili indicated, my name is Esther Keeswood, and I was a young woman, like you said, in 1974. I won't say how old I was. So the first time we ever heard of my uncle was John Earl Harvey, and my cousin Herman Dodge Benally were killed April 20th, 1974 in Cherry Canyon here in Farmington. Their bodies were found the next day, April 21st, 1974 by family. They were out on an outing. The Kodida, April 20th, 1974. And John Earl Harvey was here. Because she just ain't Herman Dodge to and that nephew isn't there Cherry Canyon. You see it, they scared, they lose the door, people take skin, that's what's saying, they listen. She's sitting right here. What is it? Jane Vicente, she's a twin sister to John Earl Harvey. She came to our house in Hogback. We lived in Hogback. And Jane came to our house and asked my mother, "Sister, help me. Let's do something about it. I'm not going to let it go," she says. And right away my mother says, "Okay, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to go. Let's go to Shiprock." We visit some of our elder leaders down there. And then one gentleman named Alfred Shorty recommended that we talk with Jimmy Anderson. Jimmy Anderson is an uncle, paternal uncle to Larry Anderson. He says he might know something how to get AIM over here. I think they're the only ones that can help us, he says, because we sent word to Peter McDonald. Peter McDonald was chairman at the time. Nothing came of that. So, but we knew that our tribal leaders at that time wouldn't help us. So, we, Jane Vicente, Hanago, Bishi, Asabadish, Ko-Edi, Latin Hania, Shadaka, she can't get it. I think he needs to get the hundreds of session. The obedition that they need. Halit Arole, Lonja Ele, not Annie, Nezia, Ilwado, Sashin, that is killer. Really, he caught all of us. No. Junde Alfred Shorty, Julian Ada, Banani, Culture A, Navajo Association, was like a car. They was better husband than they, Jimmy Anderson, Ban, car, it be yet. Amy's not Kriaja, a quite the Quidishi, the Hay Creno, a issue, you cut out Jackie. So we got in contact with Jimmy Anderson, and we told him what the situation was, and after a while he says, "Okay, I'll get in contact with Larry and come back in a couple of days," he told us. So we went back to talk with him, and Larry was there. He's not here today with us. He's elderly, not able to travel very far. So I have been in contact with him though. Okay, Larry Anderson, I see Ashkin long so. Have a speaking of Koshina. Dinle, a large Nazin, Ginley, St. Paul, Minnesota, the England, Oshajor, Nila, Russell Means, Dennis Binks, Vern, Clyde Belcourt, Ebit Nila, Shinley, and the Lincoln Kidini. So when we met with Larry, he said he was going to talk with his other leaders by the name of Russell Means. You probably heard that name. He's also deceased. Dennis Banks, also deceased. Vern and Clyde Belcourt. and they're all, the headquarters of American Indian Movement is at St. Paul, Minnesota. So a week later, that same week, Larry got back in contact with us. He says, okay, I'm going to go down there, I'm going to get a parade permit, he says. So we went with him, we came to Farmington and got a parade permit with him. And our first march that we did was May 4th, 1974. And he says, people are already coming right now. He says they're in caravans, vehicles, they're all coming down. A lot of them are coming from Pine Ridge. And the incident had just occurred with Wounded Knee, so everybody's really fired up, right? They want to come down and help the Navajo people down. They weren't afraid. So, John Earl Harvey, Wounded Knee, without a takeover, they landed. You see, double scale. I don't know, oh, you know, only ship brother, but also on there, Aaron Figan, oh, you could, Alcohol, the Bishkato, which Babajian days, some of them are also at Fred's house too. I think Tootsie and Kareem were feeding them too over there on these AIM people, AIM boys over there. So, on May 1st, 1974 is when the 3 teenagers were arrested. 2 of them were 16 years old, 1 was 15. Farmington High School, she May 11th was our second march. When you by then, Fred Earl Johnson is one of them. John Redhouse, he's sitting right down here. John Redhouse. Billy Cleaver from NAACP. Do we have anybody from his family that are here representing him, or a representative from NAACP? Okay, we try to get in contact with him. He is now living in Tyler, Texas, very elderly too. And then Reverend Henry Burt, son is here, I think. Mr. Burt, are you still here? Oh, just what? Yeah. Okay. All right. Henry Burt was a real helpful person at that time. He was a priest, I think, over here at the San Juan Episcopal Church up here by the Pistahe. San Juan Mission Gia. Reverend in his art, you and he caught a little open, you know. They sent him away once they found out he was, we were meeting over there at his church and all that. He was a big supporter of us. And they shipped him off during these marches. But we appreciate him, you know, everything he did for us. Already, the city of Farmington, how we did 10 illicit demands to them, because nobody was really, no Native Americans, I should say, was employed for the city of Farmington, and hardly any. And then there was no Native American on the city council. The Indian Center was such a joke at that time. It was a small, it was even with the bus station, and they were calling that an Indian Center. So we asked them to improve that as well too. So, Mr. Burt, this is Henry Burt's son right here. He's here representing his father. So, though you see, Farmington do then that and stuff how they know a mayor didn't get that in our sauce a trade area ita ko di la ko megi na handa stole aro Indian centers to obaha e was ako CC a the person na sio ko ero ya te ho fa the CC the bedi ni to ko first Doina's in the Marlow Webia, Mayor Long. He says, there's just a gathering place for people coming into Farmington. Now you're asking for a clubhouse if you need me at one of our meetings. I on the highest here. About isn't that mayor, back then, Marlow Web. So, she was better husband out of the so kind. So, June 8th, go well, let me back up. June 7th, go all these three boys, they were sentenced to New Mexico Boys School at Springer. But then, only she been that scared. So, what you hope it was nicht. And they shall not see the Aztec. But when you don't want it, nasty. You don't have the cut your head, no, don't that unfish. Chinia, what that's in the egg, you don't hit it, then fish no. What that is not the queen come out by the way. So, June 8th, is a day that we were denied a marching permit because there was a sheriff posse rodeo. And so some of us didn't come to Farmington, we did something else. But I think John was the first one there, and Fred was there, Lorenzo Livaldo, Taff Scott, they stopped the parade because there was cavalry there. They didn't finish, the sheriff posse didn't finish their parade. So, there were several arrests from that incident. And we got, let's see, the next 2 days we're raising funds, and then we got everybody out. And then I think John is the one who hired Toulouse, James B. Toulouse out of Albuquerque. It's a private law firm called Toulouse, Crable, and Cheney. And they represented all the leaders that were arrested and anybody else that was arrested on pro bono. That means that we didn't even have to pay them any fees. So I don't know if anybody is here from the Maggie Toulouse's office. She's the Secretary of State now. That's the granddaughter. Oh, okay. Stand up. Sheriff Calvary, there's going to get a lot China, so that 80 gig that on that one was Dutchin. Issued H. J. Head or that. I see on Hada, no she. J. Aro, where that he joke. Aro, or you have is little. Aro, a naki, J. Best of days now, skinny cow, a Aro Monday, a Ada Nani, Kudo, a Arch Edasi. I had Jane B. Toulouse as the Alba, a Ajik, a bit of it, Ajik, and you can't eat your names, which Edasi is the door, it's
so hard on miskin. Join late as a kid at the but so kid a lasto. We are in Hakoda Badin leader. I didn't Hana Aj. So that's kind of a narrative. There's a lot to talk about. I'm not going to just go on and on. I would like to recognize my Aunt Mary Johnson. Go ahead and stand up. Can you stand up? D.A. Fred Johnson, who's his wife. There's our girl, Diné, Tootsie. Can you guys stand up? Okay. These girls were like 10, 11, or 12 years old at that time. They were just young girls, and they'd be walking down the street with us. And then my Aunt Jane, Jane Vicente is right here. Family members, also have Herman Dodge Benally, his family. Ben, where are you? Oh, Ben Benally. He must have went out. Can you go ahead and just stand up? Whoever can. Stand up. And then I think that'll be the end of my speech right now. I just wanted to have you all recognize that. And then my mother, as I indicated, she was the very person that started this whole, with Jane, they started this whole marches and getting American Indian movement here. I would like to recognize my family. T. Switz, my husband, and Mr. Begay. You go ahead and stand up, Delvin. Aiden, my grandson, Shalalit Edidama. I think he's following my footsteps. I actually eat it, Shalalado, Nanligista. Okay. I believe that's it. I think covered everybody here. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
As we are recognizing other families, the family of David Ignacio. Please stand. Another family that I know is here is the mother and some of the siblings of Clint John. Clint John is the one that was killed in 2016 by a white Farmington police cop. Dee, where are you? Dee, easy. We want to say hello to you. Other family? And we say, there are others, there are many other victims that suffered at because of this racism. Okay, so now we want to go to our brother John Redhouse. All the way from Pyramid Lake, Nevada.
Thank you, Brother Billy, Sister Esther. 50 years, and it actually, Indian killing goes back to at least in this area, at least to the 1870s. The white settlers moved down from north after dispossessing the Utes, Mountain Ute, Southern Ute of their gold, put them on tiny reservations. And they came, they already had a history of Indian killing and stealing land. And there were Navajos that were living here in the middle San Juan River Valley already. Many of them never went to Fort Sumner, Muskie Redondo. They hid out over here, and then later way up in other places. So they were still here, and they had farms, they had grazing areas here. It was, in fact, in reality and physically, it was Navajo land, old-time Navajo land. And in 1876, this area was opened up to what they called the public domain, even though it was Indian land. And then that's when the settlers really started swarming in. And it wasn't long, it was in the late 1870s, that they began their Indian killing. They already chased out our people, chased them out of the valley and up into the dry plateau where you couldn't farm, you couldn't graze because of the lack of access to water. Here you had the San Juan River. And back then, Indians weren't regarded as human beings. They were considered, and much like today, they're considered as less than human. And over here on Main Street, 1880, we started shooting Indians target practice. And that is documented in some of the history books. And that's where it really began. And we didn't really take that. Like in 1974, we rose up. This chief, Black Horse, he gathered about 1,000 Navajos. And they came over here and they said, "Give up those Indian killers or we will destroy this town." Now, that's not me talking, that's not CNL talking. It was our brave resistance leaders that were talking back then. 1,000 warriors. Bring it back up there. We had a warrior society back then. It was that warrior society that AIM, United Native Americans, National Indian Youth Council, modeled their activism on. It wasn't something that just came up as a result of the civil rights movement in the 1950s, 1960s. It goes back to 1870 to 1942, or 1492. That's where the resistance began, with the first invasion. There were many victims there. A lot of our people fought and died during those resistance wars. And they too need to be included in the victims, because they made the ultimate sacrifice in protecting the land and the people. So we need to put this in historical context, geographical context, and in continental hemispheric contents. Since 1492, 98%, over 98%, the Indian people that live here, wiped out, killed, invasion, disease, colonization, deadly conditions that we're subjected to. It all goes back 98%. It's estimated that the continental United States, there were 12 million Indian people living. And by the late 1900s, there's only less than 250,000. Now that's genocide, and it's continuing. With every Indian that they kill, that's the continuation of that genocide. The Indian wars are not over. We know that. So when white people say that there's no more racism, there's no more genocide, that's not true. That's not true. They've never been on the receiving end of racism and hate crime. We are the only ones that have standing and truth to make that statement. In 1974, 50 years ago, the city of Farmington was the enemy of the people, the resistance movement. They didn't think that, they thought that the district attorney, the assistant district attorneys would bring justice. Let the courts settle it. You guys don't make trouble. And they called me an outsider and a troublemaker, and that wasn't true. I grew up in Farmington. I was born and raised here. I knew Farmington from the 1950s, from the early 1950s to late 1970s. Went to public school here. Apache Elementary School, Tibbetts Junior High, Farmington High School. We lived several blocks away from downtown here, so I know the town very well. Been to the Total Theater here many times, saw many movies here. And I remember, the racism, was alive and well back then. I remember Sprouse Wright's over here on the 200 block of Main Street here. You had this big, tall, mean-looking white man, I think he was a store manager or something. All these Navajo kids around. We go in there, and, there's a variety store. Buy marbles or something like that. Get marbles or, just browse, selectable. Browse. All of us around. They would do that to Navajo families as well. Mothers and grandmothers with their kids going there, they were followed too. They didn't do that to the white families. They didn't do that to the white kids. Well, we were being racially profiled and followed around. Those white kids could have been shoplifting right there. The reason you were already presumed guilty of being shoplifters. That's why they followed us around. That racism was good. I remember that distinctly. And when I was in high school, the racial slurs started. This white kid called me a savage, so I beat him up. I gave him a savage beating. Navajo power, Indian power. This other kid called me an effing Navajo, and I beat him up too. So that was part of growing up here. And this was before the 1970s. And I first heard of hate crimes, attempted vehicular homicide of a mother, and that was the first time I heard it. I said, boy, this will get serious. She escaped with her life, similar to Stella and James Webster situation back in 1971, and other similar incidents. But they not only use their fists, they not only pick on intoxicated people and outnumber them. They always outnumber us, 3 to 1, 2 to 1, like that. They're cowards. And but in 1967, 1968, I used to spend a lot of time in the Indian section of town, which was the heart of the Indian section of town was Broadway and Bear, going all the way to the railroad tracks. Elm is down the street, and a little bit to a block to the right, and a block to the left. And I felt comfortable there. You don't always feel comfortable when you're deaf down. If you have dark skin, you're in Navajo. And I felt comfortable among my people. Talked to them. A lot of them from the checkerboard area, where David Ignacio came from. And of course from Kirtland, Shiprock. And that's where they felt comfortable at. And they would talk about these hate crimes. They call them hate crimes. This white teenager would come out midnight. And they would kidnap and beat our people. I remember seeing a number of people that just disappeared. They were there one weekend, decent people, problems with alcohol, considering the historical trauma and what they had to go through. I said, they would just disappear. I thought, what happened to that older lady there that said she was from Discreto? What was that? Did she go back home? And it just happened too many times. It was a pattern of hate crimes. So don't think that this 1974 incident was an isolated incident, because it goes way back. It's a pattern. And racial hatred. We need to look at it like, 50 years ago, and it was a bad time, let bygones be bygones, or like the city of Farmington said, boys will be boys. They were just blowing off steam, trying to minimize those hate crimes, violence, and those racial slurs. As part of those are outgrowths of ingrained racism that's been here since the 1870s. And it manifests itself in different ways, but it's still there. The last encounter I had was in 2012 over at Olive Garden. Like redneck oil workers started making statements. And I was talking to his wife, but he was making it loud enough so that I would hear it, me and my wife. And it was delivered. And so I started countering him. And I thought we were going to come to blows. We're going to have it out. Finally, I just said, let's get out of this place. He was drunk. He was probably late 30s, and I was in my early 60s then. And if we went out in the parking lot, he would probably beat me up. He was bigger, and he was younger, and he was, old guy there, grandpa. I went out to the parking lot and I waited for him, and he never showed up. And even though there's a good chance that I would have probably gotten beaten up, I wasn't going to back down. We should never back down. Fight racism is alive. In 1974, I think Esther and Chile gave a fine summary of the events, the chronology of events that took place then. And I came up, I started working on this, Larry Emerson and I, Kiva Club, Larry being from Hogback, and we had the Farmington roots. We took the lead with the UNM Kiva Club, getting involved in the formation and continuation of the Coalition for Navajo Liberation. And so we held a press conference down in Albuquerque and made statewide news. It wasn't only the UNM Kiva Club, but also the UNM Native American Studies Center, the National Indian Youth Council, the American Indian Movement. And it was a unified condemnation of the racism. And we called for full racial justice. It made statewide news. And then I was asked to organize a press conference up here. That's where we had small place, but it was packed. And that's where I first heard Lucy Keeswit speak, and she electrified the audience. Just the oratory, the feeling. She was a natural leader. Larry Anderson was there, and others. And we're going to do something about it. We have no faith in bordertown justice. When has it ever worked in our favor? Never. There's a double standard of justice. So we're going to make this part of a larger issue, and and put things in historical context. The Indian killing, the continuation of genocide. So, and that's it was that revolutionary spirit that that gave birth to this modern Navajo civil rights movement. Coalition for Navajo Liberation was made up of different organizations, and it was just one person, one leader, one spokesman, but we had collective leadership. We had group leadership. And many, I might go back and mention the Farmington, was at the Farmington Indian Center. We had the UNM Kiva Club, and we had American Indian Movement, Jimmy Anderson, Larry Anderson, Lorenzo Lavaldo, and others, Urban Keeswood, who's a young man, and of course Esther, Lucy, Mary Wallace, and others. And then we had NAACP, Billy Cleaver, Reverend Billy Cleaver, and Alan Arnold of the same group. And I knew, growing up, I knew two of her sons. The Indian section of town was also south of the railroad tracks, was where most of the blacks and Hispanics lived, poor part of town. And also the San Juan County Human Rights Committee. Henry Bird was the chair of that. Jim Fassett, his wife Sarah. And then there were other white allies that not only sympathized with us, but supported many of our demands, particularly related to building a real Indian center here and having a real alcoholism rehabilitation center here. Needed services, much needed services. We weren't radical. We were talking about burning down City Hall or anything like that. We were about constructive, positive change. We were about solutions and alternatives. But there was no violence. The city was totally opposed to this. It's a whole different, it's much different than it is today, in which the city is at least extending us some courtesy and some respect. It would have been impossible in 1974. And the mayor, one of the city councilmen that said that the only way to handle these militants is to shoot them. And, and other businessmen were talking in those terms too. Made it look like they were being, they were circling the wagons or something. And but they were the ones talking violence, advocating violence. All of our marches were peaceful and legal. And then when we did the civil disobedience over here on Main Street, they were the wild ones. It was a police fight. And we were out there. Lorenzo was a leader. He said, when we blocked the car in front of the cavalry unit, Lorenzo said, the policeman that came up, we want to meet with the Grand Marshal, and we want to tell him to remove that racist cavalry unit. And of course they refused, and just turned that into an arrest situation. 5 seconds to disperse and start throwing tear gas, and that's what they did. And our ground. It was civil disobedience, it was nonviolent. They're the ones that made it a violent situation. And so they come running, you know, they spot me out, they come running over. 10 of them, I would say, started running over, waving their nightsticks. And, you know, I was outnumbered, you know, I was going to surrender or anything. I just stood there and let them arrest me. I knew there were cops over on this side here, so I was going to try to run. Just going to deal with the situation. So I thought they'd, arrest me, redeem my rights, and put me in the squad car. No, they came running at me, and several of them tried to push me through the plate glass window. And I didn't let them do it. I knew something about martial arts, like a judo move. It's a misdirection, and use their weight and momentum against them. And 2 of them went through the plate glass window. But there were too many of them. There were too many of them. And a cop who I never saw came up behind me and tried to break my windpipe. There. Others were trying to get me handcuffed. And the cop, again, expect my misdirection or whatever, pulled it down like that. Because he was working my windpipe. If I had let him, I wasn't going to let him do that. I had a little bit of resistance left in me. So, to pull it down, I was, bigger than 6 foot, 200 pounds, and, I could match those guys in a one-on-one situation. But, and then, the cops came, and more cops came, and they handcuffed me. If they had handcuffed me, and the guy was nightstick back up, he would have broken my windpipe. And all for surrendering, all for, getting arrested. Okay, it's civil rights, civil disobedience. So expect some consequences, yeah. But, and, others, Pat Scott and Johnny Claw were also on this side here. And instead of reading my rights, they just grabbed us, the 3 of us, and threw us into the back of the squad car there, like that. You're supposed to read personal rights and then ease them in. So, but no, they just threw us right in there. And, hit my head there, and they didn't read us the rights. And the guy turned around and said, well, I won't say what he said. It's the white guy's cussing using those dirty, foul language there. And the bottom line is that he threatened to kill us. He said, you, I won't say it, you guys ask for it now. And I don't care who we call in, we're going to kill all of you. And then, that ugly white man F word, we'll kill all of you effing Indians. And they took us up to the city hall, and others were arrested. There were 33 of us that were arrested. But what I want to say is that all of our marches were peaceful and legal. They were trying to agitate the situation. They'd show up at some of our marches with their nightsticks all lined up, and showing on some of the photographs here, their show of force and trying to provoke us into doing something, falling into their hands, basically, so they could arrest us and brutalize us. They had a history of doing to our people for years and years. And, became a legal defense situation. There were 33 of us arrested, and Esther talked about Jib Toulouse, and we're very helpful people helping us out, in addition to the people that Larry Anderson, who runs it all, and others mobilized. And of course, Lucy, dear sister, Lucy Keesler, their oratory, they could mobilize a lot of people. I think there were probably 1,000 people camped out over at San Juan Mission there. They were just watching to see if anything happened. Lives are being threatened. We didn't attack them. They attacked us. They don't react. They're supposed to be well trained. situation, brought in Jim Toulouse, well-known civil rights attorney, criminal defense attorney, and we went on their legal defense on the offense. They tried to keep us from marching, they tried to keep us from marching, and we had a constitutional right. And, so it took about a month of litigation and negotiation. We won the right to march in the streets of Farmington. We did that throughout the summer. The press, bringing out all kinds of things, in addition to the lack of justice for the families of the victims. The kids, very light sentence. Sent to Springer. For a few easy years, shooting pool, bragging about the murders. They weren't going to be really guilty because they were part of this culture, this white culture. Not only here, but in all of the border towns. There's no such thing as an Indian-friendly border town. No such thing. Not only are they sitting on stolen Indian land, that's why we call them settled colonists. They exert, they abuse their right to be here and to interact with us in a peaceful way. We weren't asking for trouble. The trouble was already here. So I wasn't an outsider. I wasn't a troublemaker. I did help the leaders, Lucy and Fred and Chile and the others, because we had a central committee, coalition for Navajo Liberation, made up of representatives and leaders of those groups. And the blacks and the white human rights people, they had their own set of concerns. And marched on City Hall, we presented organized in the night front. And yes, the first march was 4,000 people from Blair Emerson. And subsequent marches, 3,000 before the right. We had 5 consecutive marches, mass marches, showing real Navajo power. And that's what Patrick Brown talked of the days of greatness, the days of greatness. And he was only 14 years old then. He came in 1973, involved in the Oklahoma shootout in 1975. Leonard Peltier, Leonard Peltier, I think we all know of him as our hero. And in 1970, in the Page area, construction. And he would come to Farmington sometimes, and he would stay at the Avery Hotel over here, 3-story building over here. And he says in one of his writings on the internet, he witnessed policemen beating an owl. He yelled out at policemen to stop, but he wouldn't. But he knew what this town was about. And Norman Patrick, fought shoulder to shoulder with Leonard Peltier in the invasion of the Jumping Bull Swamp and defended the elders and the children. So we have another hero there, Norman Patrick Brown. But at a very young age, he saw the thousands of people, oratory, power in words, and that was a time of greatness. Farmington hasn't really seen that probably since Black Horse. Black Horse, we call it rebellion, it's for the right reasons, and Farmington hasn't seen anything since the long hot summer of 1974. And it was, we were outraged, we were shocked, we were angry. Not only for the 3 victims, but we know those victims, there are many. And they related to them. We identified Cherry Canyon, west of Little Plata Highway. Those are killing fields. And there's a literal boneyard of Navajo hate crime victims in those hills. And so, we're talking mass murder here. So, just continue. There was no reason for it. Although it may not be that bad now, it still continues. I've been back here many times in the course of my work, and I've encountered different kinds of racism. And 2012, well, really bad, 2012. In any case, in 1974, I did come here to make trouble. I came here because I was asked to help organize it. And I didn't just stick around and think of things to make trouble on. I was working over here at San Juan County Economic Opportunity Council. I was a summer intern. I was researching a subject called Indian lifestyles in reservation bordertown, focusing on the employment issues. That's the main reason why our people who can't make a living on the reservation, 65% of them into the bordertowns to find work. So it's very important in that project to have good basic data to work on, so we can build a set of recommendations, or at least an agenda, to improve the lives and future of our people. We care about our people. We love our people. Our flesh for the same flesh, blood for the same blood. It's like the three victims. They're our brothers. An attack on one, an attack on all. And so it was people out in the streets, tell the people out in the streets, it's total unity. Total unity. And really unbelievable. Those 5 weeks. And for young men, Patrick Brown, to see that, you're worth it, Fred Johnson, Lucy Keystone, bringing out the best of us. The words, bringing out the best of us. And they weren't just words, they're out in the streets with us. So, it's a time to, not only reflect on, it's an important part of our history. And it should be properly documented, properly recorded. With the Navajo context. Broken Circle, written by a white man, written for primarily white readers. There's no Navajo context, there's no feeling there. There's a lot of money to book royalties, and then there are opportunists out there that want to make movies based on the Broken Circle. Many of us find Broken Circle offensive. In particular, when he refers to our people, the ones that have drinking problems, as whiners wobbling up and down the streets of Farmington. Page 96, Broken Circle. That's what the page thinks of us. We have great authors, professors amongst us now that don't talk that way. Their bordertown research, and reports, and dissertations, and books. Cheryl Red Horse Bennett and her family are among us. In 2022, she wrote a book, We Have Just Begun to Fight. One of the signs that marchers were carried back then. I think that might have been the second or third march. And hate crimes and injustice in America, focusing primarily on Farmington and Kirtland. Very ugly encounter with racism in Adams Valley Mall when she was just 4 years old. And we have other Navajo professors and book authors that wrote another book, 2020, 2021, Red Nation Rising. bordertown violence to Native liberation, examining border towns across America and developing a framework to deal, Indian people to deal with the border town problem on our terms, because we're on the receiving end. And we also have Lisa Weber Danielson among us, came down from Wyoming in 2006 for a PhD dissertation, doctoral dissertation on racism and police brutality here in Farmington. She's among us, and Jennifer Dennett-Dale and Melanie Ghazi, who were two of the Navajo co-authors of that book, Red Nation Rising, are among us also. They're very important, very influential people. Jennifer also chairwoman of the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission. After the Clint John shooting, Shelley Ozzie, Irvin Keeswood, and others took steps to form the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission. Under Jennifer's leadership, it's really turned into an effective advocate for our people. We've had hearings, we have studies, and it grew out of that. Shelley was a member for a long time of the New Mexico State Human Rights Commission. And he's always been a consistent champion of our rights, of our civil rights and our human rights. He's always been there. His drum group organizing out on the Eastern Navajo, Turfano, and he is the counselor of that area there. Great numbers of people, caravan on in. Ray Johnson said, I want you and your cohorts to go out there and organize on the eastern side. And that's what he did. Shelley was there when he was needed. And of course, he too, still alleged victim of hate crimes. Shelley took a bullet. Reservation violence in real terms. But that doesn't defeat him. That's made him stronger. So he is one of our heroes too, our champions. We really need his leadership. We really need his integrity. So he is a blessing, a great blessing to the Choctaw Navajos. And so, there are many inaccuracies in Broken Circle. Historical inaccuracies, factual inaccuracies, makes stuff up, calls it literary license. And then they want to make the movie, option the book to make movies out of it, so they can show winos waddling up and down the streets of Farmington and making us look less than human, as savages. And you get white guy doing it. None of our authors, none of our scholars describe our people that way. Because, there are people, human beings. Sure, some of them have trouble with alcohol. It makes them easy prey for hate crimes. But, there's that love, there's that care for our people. So that should be in the curriculum. San Juan College, the Native American program. Diné College. And, people need to know this. Some people don't even know who Fred Johnson is. Who Leonard Peltier is. Remember Russell Mays came here in 1990. And people, he came here and told the press conference on the project he was working on. And he was telling, people were telling him. The people that showed up were telling him. People who they called street people. They said, Russell talked about the hate crimes in 1974. Russell, it's still going on. It's still going on. And I knew some of these so-called street people I grew up with. Most of them have since passed on. But, they knew the reality in the main streets of Farmington. So, this. They could have torn this down and put something else up here. It's been here since 1948, and we've been here many times. And, so, you know, it's good that we have a facility to meet and to dialogue, and to collaborate for positive and constructive change for our people instead of having to do it at inadequate facilities. Well, you know, this is the right place to do it, and hopefully the right time to begin this process of healing. And we got to have a say in this healing. And there are other strategies to deal with racism and hate. But you know, this is one way. And we also, in the reality of things, have to think outside the box to ensure survival as a people in our homeland. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother John. It's good to see you. You honor us with your visit, my brother. Yeah. We need to, let's back it up a little bit to the first slide. We do need to get on with the program. We had asked some of the folks to talk, but we're just so far over time that we're just going to start concluding our program. We do want to share with you some pictures. Jonah? As you can see here, we're talking about pictures from 1974. And again, quoting Norman Brown, it was a moment of the next greatness. Okay. This is one of the families, Herman Dodge Benally's family. Ben, are you still here? Ben was here with us earlier. He's the guy that's holding up the sign. Okay, now I'm up. This is Lucy Kiswood, my big sister. She was the main mover. She was the brain. She was our leader. We just honor her so much. Okay. Here's Lucy and Mary again. Mary's here with us. Sometimes we refer to Fred as one of our greatest modern time leaders. Here it is, Fred, and Reverend Billy Cleaver, who was with NAACP at the time. Okay. This is Larry. This is when we were, at the time when we were doing the marches, we had caravans coming in from every direction. And this caravan was coming in from Arizona through Shiprock. We stopped at the old hogback turquoise bar. There's a lot of our people got hurt there. So that's where Larry is talking here. You can see the hogback mountain there. Okay. There's no explanation needed. Main man. Okay. And this is Reverend Henry Bird. Bill, would you stand? When our movement at the time needed a place to take a rest, some place to eat, this man provided that place across the river, the old little church there, First Episcopalian Church, and he's one that we greatly honor. Dale, thank you for being with us. Okay. Here's Chad is really giving us the fire and brimstone. Okay, Fred is right there again. Okay. He's one of our march leaders. See our young people there, all the people behind them. Okay. Here's our grandma's son, leading on one of the marches. Okay. Pictures from some of the marches. We can keep going. This guy in the white shirt is me. And you can see him slamming away on the drum with singing the aim song with my right arm, yeah. I can say that I've been a victim of white racial violence. In June 27, 1976, or 78, I pick up a hitchhiker in Chevron up on the hill right here outside of Farmington. He had a poncho, yeah, so I never knew what was going on. But he shot me right up here at the top of the hill. And he took my arm off. First bullet hit the bone, the big bone, yeah, and it all blew inside me. Shrapnel, the bullet fragments, bone fragments. He shot me again down below, went all the way through. 44 Magnum, 2 times. And the Earth Mother was kind to me. Our great Creator was kind to me, so I could be here with you today. This is our Coalition for Navajo Liberation sign. And yeah, back it up. There's Esther right here, over there. And some of these men, yeah, the white shirt with the black hat, that's Ben Dodge. Auto beside him is George Lewis. Those were really grassroots, the men, people that formed the Net Rights organization, even back then, yeah. Really grassroots, like some of these guys, they hardly went to school. We were just so proud of them to carry on their leadership. Okay. Here's a good one. It says, Farmington is on Indian land. That's the truth. All these communities, Farmington, Aztec, Bloomfield, they are on stolen land. Here's some mighty warriors here. Fred's in the truck right there, and Chavis Navarro is in the middle, and I think that's probably Lorenzo driving. Okay. All right, here's Larry. Here's Larry is singing with us. Okay. Last shot. Nana is one of our big marchers past the old A&W. Very west of Maine. Nana. Here's what John talked about that day that they stood down the Farmington police. Show the next picture. It's Fred and Jimmy Anderson. They were facing off with the police that day. This is the day that Lorenzo, as John is saying, Lorenzo was the leader of that day when they confronted the mounted cavalry. These guys were on horseback. They say we're the 7th Cavalry. And our leaders didn't agree with that right here. They even threw tear gas to the people. And here's Lorenzo throwing one of them back. Right out here on Broadway, just past that place. This guy, he just walked into it. This must have been a goofy white guy. He just walked into a situation and he got arrested that day. Rodney's the one that wrote that book, Broken Circle. Then another picture of one of the guys getting arrested over associate. Okay, here's the cavalry guy right there. That's how they were all dressed. This is the one that also John referenced. Is our Toulouse. Maya, you stand? Where's your son? Oh, they left, okay. But these guys, these white men, they're good people, yeah. Good hearts, and they really helped us at the time. So there you have John Dulles. He was the director of the United States Civil Rights Commission. They came to town and they put Farmington and said, you are hurting these people. Stop it. He's a good friend. He's still in Denver area. So that concludes the little picture show that we have here. And, Cheryl, are you here? Cheryl, please stand. Cheryl Redhouse Bennett. She wrote a book of that name, Our Fight Has Just Begun. Look for it. It's on Amazon and other places you can buy that book. It tells everything about what we've been talking about here. She did an extensive research about it. She did a good job with that book. Thank you, Cheryl. Okay, we went through all of the honorees here, and with the families that are still here, and our honorees that we want to honor here, and in that way, then in our indigenous way, Jay, we sing a song for them. We call it honor song, and we call it on my Alvin to do that for us here. We're honoring the victims, the families, and our important people that all help on this cause.
Oh, I got Esther knows it's an endowment. There's no need in it. It's like the God of the house. So, could she is should I could have those? It's a Dalvin, are you still there? I'll go, still. Come on up here. So, and this is we started singing back in '78, and I was going to school at Curtin High School, and our band teacher, Mrs. Brooks, she must have really liked my brother Irvin, my late brother, and he'd always do different singings and stuff like that. And that lady, white lady, found out where the powwows, and she gave me a bass drum, and that's how we started singing years ago. And one of the first places I learned how to sing was at the aid camp on the bluffs. Back then. So this is our younger brother, Galvin, and through that we started a drum group called Sun Eagle Singers, and that was history. And my younger brother here was our lead singer. So we're going to sing an honor song, and it's for everyone to heal today.
Elo Silene to A. Hima. Let the storm call me Dago Sahayano. Jana. If you are in Hato by A. Winson. Begin to get out of it. She came, Justin, Skitche, Zani, just wait. Just a couple of introductions. Lewosti, Tura, Percy Gill, Yindex, Litchi, Magate, Aden, Sanja. Percy, a great leader of the Navajo Liberation. Yeah. Another introduction, we didn't get the mayor or anybody from the city government yet, but we do have somebody from the government. Brian Lee, are you here? Brian was here earlier. He's from the office of our Senator Ben Ray Lujan. Go ahead. We will go ahead and do our closing. We had asked Vicki Whitaker to make some comments on the white racism. Vicki Whitaker, but there will be opportunity. Don't put it he numbers Nas he ate only. Okay, we can ask Vicki Whitaker to come back and be with us. Brother James, come on up. We want you to take some time here and talk a little bit about this issue, and then at the same time we're going to ask you to dismiss us with a brief blessing.
Thank you, Chili. Thank you all. Yeah, I did. I'm Reverend Dr. James Clausen, the pastor at First Presbyterian here in Farmington, and our sister Stella is one of our ruling elders. I bring you greetings from the church and from the Presbytery of Santa Fe. I want to speak to you just for a moment, I promise only a moment, about the importance of memory to the task of commitment in the cause of hope. I acknowledge that the land on which I live, work, worship, and play is the Tota. The land along these three rivers is the land of the ancestral Puebloans. It is the land of the Diné, and it's also the land of the Ensued. Most acknowledgments given by white people end here. I won't end here. The Christian church which I served was complicit in the violence perpetrated on all these peoples by Europeans and their descendants. The doctrine of discovery, which was promulgated by the Western Church in the 15th century, was only the beginning in a long series in ways which the church gave spiritual license and legal cover for the exploitation and theft of land and people over the centuries. My own church tradition was complicit in traumas like the Long Walk and philosophies like Manifest Destiny and institutions like the residential schools that stripped Native children of their culture and language, in practices like overt discrimination in justice and education and economics, and in our willingness to turn a blind eye toward racial violence against our Native siblings. As we've heard today, the events of 1974 did not occur in a vacuum, and that's why the resistance movement that arose over 50 years ago has been and is still now so powerful. Today, we honor the memories of the men who were murdered in those acts of brutal racial hatred. We honor their families, and we honor all those who raise their voices and hands to say no more. In my faith tradition, we often speak about confession and repentance and forgiveness, and heaven knows we've abused that theology sometimes, but I think it's helpful to our task today and to our next steps together and how we understand the importance of memory to our future. Confession of wrongdoing, expressions of repentance, seeking of forgiveness will ring hollow, it will ring false unless there is real commitment to changing the present and working toward a better future. As Sister Stella mentioned, I'm kind of new here, But I do have family here in New Mexico, including my beloved auntie, who served for decades as a school psychologist on the Navajo Nation, working with Diné children and their families, seeing firsthand the real tragic results of generational trauma. But I myself, I'm from Georgia, probably heard from my accent, and I attended college in rural southeast Alabama. As a young man living in the Deep South, I witnessed a remarkable transformation about how we remembered the events of the Civil Rights Movement. For decades, it seemed like to many, empower and influence the way to deal with real ugliness, real violence in our past was to sweep it under the rug, to look forward to things like the New South or cities too busy to hate. But a shift has happened in the last 2 decades. Cities, large and small, have begun a reckoning with that violent history, to acknowledge it honestly. In Atlanta, in Birmingham, Montgomery, in Selma, memorials and museums have risen. In Birmingham at 16th Street Baptist Church, the memorial to those 4 little girls murdered by a white supremacist terrorist bomb refuses to ignore that past. And it calls all who make their pilgrimages there to ask themselves, so what do we do now? In Selma, the King Monument stands witness along with the Pettus Bridge to all those of all races who died in the March for Voting Rights in 1965. It names that violent history, but it silently asks those who flock to Selma to make their pilgrimages across the bridge, where's this bridge going to take us together now? These communities across my native South have found that permanent physical memorials to a difficult past play a hugely important role in helping the community cast a shared vision for the future. A community without a shared story is unanchored and aimless. A community that owns its history, warts and all, mourning the violence of the past while celebrating the long process of activism and hard work that overcame it, that community feels a spirit, a shared purpose, that spirit of we shall overcome. My friends, we in the Tota, especially in the city of Farmington, we've got a unique opportunity right now. It's an opportunity that comes to a town like this only once in a generation, if not once in a century. The work we are doing together today is important, it is vital, it is life-giving, and that work cannot end today. The permanent memorial that we're planning is just an important beginning. It will give us, we hope, a focal point as a community, a place of memory in which we anchor our hope for a better future together. It will stand as a witness, calling us to be the community that does something about missing and murdered Indigenous women and missing and murdered Indigenous relatives. It is the witness to us that will call us to get loud, calling out quiet racism. It will stand as a permanent reminder and a call to our commitment to a Farmington, to a Tota, that is a place where all peoples share the fruits of prosperity, of freedom, and of justice. So, on behalf of my colleagues on the Commemorative Committee, I invite you to join us as we seek to continue the work we've started today, the work of memory that will fire our present commitment to the urgent task of hope for the future. Because deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. I hate it. And now as we prepare to break bread together, I ask you, as you feel led, to join me in a brief prayer. Holy One, Spirit of creation, you who created all of us in your image, we give you thanks for this time to join together, to tell our stories together, to cast our vision for the future. We thank you for one another. We thank you for all the hands that have prepared these meals. We ask that you will bless them. Bless our time together. O Creator, help us to walk together in beauty. Amen.
Brother James. Stella, why don't you go up and make the last announcement, and then we can move on. You want to hear this announcement because it's about food.
We have lunches for you. We have ushers available to help you with your meals. And we also have a city bus that's available to take people back to their cars. And it's at Main and Block. At the intersection of Main and Block, there's a city bus for transportation if you need to go back to your vehicle, wherever you parked. So, thank you very much.
We are very proud that we were together today to commemorate our resistance in 1974. We are proud that we can honor the victims and the families of we will be back together. One last announcement for the healing part.
So Stella has put together multiple resources for healing. There are tents outside, and we're going to have a panel discussion here inside the Toe Talk. That was scheduled to begin at 1:30, but we'll take a little break, make sure everybody gets something to eat, and then come back in. But please visit the tents that are outside after you eat. Thank you all.
So let's go chow and have a good happy trip going home. Safe trip.
Thank you everybody who tuned into the live stream. I'm going to turn it off. Be on the lookout on the Red Nation podcast. We'll be publishing content, interviews, and more. Thank you, comrades and supporters, and please like and subscribe if you're not already to our YouTube channel. We'll see y'all around.